I don't know who said this. I wish I could give credit. But God showed up as flowers today, and I, waiting for words, almost missed that conversation. That's the truth. It's fun to be a languaging form, expression. It's, we communicate lots of different ways. But we can get really tripped up on words. Really tripped up on words. And when we don't recognize that we're believing very strongly in the words that we're using, like we have a structure around the word, a whole world in itself around the word. If we don't recognize that, then we're so distant from the conversation, the actuality. It's mediated. It's one step, at least one step, from direct, if not 10, 20. So I loved Genpo Chigme this morning. Me, mine. Oh, it's funny. I feel like I've done that a lot when I'm teaching too, like, the wanting, craving me, It gets really, even subtly, it gets really subtle after deep recognitions, right? Everyone here in this room is deeply recognized. So it becomes more and more subtle. You really have to be vigilant, as a lot of the masters have talked about. Because there's still pieces that can withhold themselves from the totality in a sense of survival. And it can be built around these words. Prior to retreat, the conversation came up and it was brought forward, well, if you have never had an experience of sustained, abiding true nature, what's in it for the me? Why would you want it? Valid inquiry. Because it hears words like no self, dissolution, death. Attachment. All the stuff. And it is rightfully kind of like, maybe we'll save the ship. I think that's my job. And so there's this element of trust and faith, but also that element that Ani brings forward a lot of confidence in what the masters have taught and said, that we are that. And we have experience of this. We do. We've all been stood still in a certain moment. Some moment, whether it be in what we call nature or the birth of a baby, the death of a loved one, something that stopped the meing, the mediation of reality, and just brought reality, the conversation, directly into experience. It's not foreign, it's natural. It's just that the attention is so captivated by the coming and going. Captivated. Held captive by the coming and going. And it's not that the coming and going is bad. And what that me doesn't know and can never understand is that the divine expression, unmediated, naked, impoverished of all of that, subtle holding back, subtle not worthiness and all the rest, naked of all of that is the realm of causeless joy, causeless love, causeless compassion. It's not manufactured, it's not generated, it's not rewarded, deserved, bestowed, held from. It's not a transaction. It simply is. And the unique individuation is a celebration. The body and mind come into the same present moment and inhabit the present as a totality. And the expression begins to reflect the reality of the original conception of being, which is not far, it's not distant, but it's not recognized and can't be lived consciously with all that intermediation, the one step, the missing the conversation, the waiting, the seeking, the craving, the wanting, the agenda, the expecting, the hoping, all the stuff that brings us away from God showing up as the word is love here, but peace, joy, harmony, goodness, reality. So these words, they're beautiful. It's beautiful to try and get as close as we can, as precise as we can, and to find it in all different places is just yummy. I love that. I love nothing more than hearing it in all the traditions from all the masters. Like Sharon always says, they all find the same thing. And then how people express that, the great poets. But this liberated, not a seeker of freedom, not a rebel, liberated. It's a wholeness, it's a totality, it's just as able, has the capacity for yes, no, maybe, and any other expression that we haven't actually realized enough yet to bring into form. And there are many waiting for us that are beyond our wildest imagination and beyond war, beyond separation. It's not that all of that is new or yet to come. It's here, unrealized. It's here. All of what we think of as problems, what creative power brings problems? There's nothing here that isn't without solution, without harmony, without original expression at the beginning of the beginning, the birthplace, the originality. It's all there, here, now, is. But we are cleaning house, cleaning out the beliefs and the dedications and the allegiances to what we have believed for so long. Separateness, scarcity. We have to work for what we get. We have to, appease God, beg God. There's no truth to that. There is no truth to that. What we're in relationship with there is the judging mind, the world of duality. It's very deeply, deeply, deeply held because it feels like survival, because there is still the belief in death. What does Ananda Mahima say? That which burns is only that which can be burned. That which is real is not of that substance. It's not of that. It's eternal. It's infinite. All of this is recognizable here and now. It can be directly and not out of body, not in some ethereal realm, but here. But it's a matter of disbelieving and really listening, questioning, and beginning to bring the attention somewhere besides all of our referencing and categorizing. Not that any of that is wrong or bad or anything else. It's just, it hasn't been in service to the heart, the spirit, the reality. It has kind of taken over as essence, and it's not essence. And so we've lost sight. We've lost sight of the essence of who we are. You know, it's beyond the word intimate. It's beyond the word connection. It's beyond all of that. It's like water and wetness, fire and heat, sun and shining. That's beyond intimacy. It's the essence of who we are. There's a deep habit. I certainly know about it. There's a deep habit to bring the attention to that which we wish to be free from. It's crazy, guys. It's literally crazy. And it takes, we're also, this is such a precious showing up. And it brings a lot of potency and it enlivens this potential. It enlivens the potential to live, to really have that attention, rest in and as what is, never coming, never going. In that resting, the light that is the love of existence. It so loves the world that it brought in its only child, existence, the body of existence. Let there be light. Can be directly, that beginning, that is the original expression, can be directly lived, sensed, and eventually it begins to be the way, the orientation, it's what is. And the rest, as Ani was saying, is appearance, but the appearance isn't like, oh, thank God, like I'm fully detached from all that appearance. It's enjoyed because there is this radical subjectivity that loves, that is love. It is love. I can't remember which Sufi poet said, it's one thing to wake up as a drop in the ocean, and that's a beautiful shift. When you realize, oh wow, I'm made up of all the same stuff as, everything. But it's another shift, a change of an occupancy and a whole different way of being when the ocean wakes up as the drop. Mm-hmm. What is there to defend in that? What is there to hold back? What is there to, keep safe? What is there to die? So much of our time is spent in attending to, and not just attending, believing. It's very much about belief. Because belief sets up an entire sense within the physiology of juice. That's real. I mean, I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of my life thinking that basic juice of just a hormonal biofeedback loop was like life force. Up, down, up, down, up, down. I don't want to be a flatliner, I'm sensitive. But the power of that which animates, sustains, maintains, not the war that's superimposed upon it, not the glasses that have been put on to view it and manipulate it, but that, naked of all of that other stuff, is a very different experience than the world of belief. And not that a belief can't come in, an opinion can't come in. I remember one time at Retreat in Cove, somebody asked me, and I don't really ever know what the responsive immediacy will be. I mean, it's not like it's strategic at all. So somebody said, well, do you have an opinion? And what came forward was, well, sure, I have opinions, but I don't believe them. And that's the actual truth. I mean, you're still enjoying the show. What is it? The movie? Yeah, relax and enjoy the movie. The heart is not ever going to, in a way, a realized wholeheartedness, not the human open-close thing, but like the heart of the heart, the ever-giving presence is not going to sit back and enjoy, slaughter, horror, all that kind of stuff. That's to misunderstand the teaching. That's actually one of the biggest surprises, is that nothing ever closes down, even in the presence of great horror. It doesn't close. It doesn't close down. It doesn't justify or pretend that it's like not real in a bypassing sort of way. It's wholeheartedly engaged. It can't be anything but. That's the essence. That's the essence. Because to see itself in its true truth beyond whatever crazy behavior is being falsely animated by the judging mind, is to redeem itself. Does that make sense? It's like it's liberated in that seeing. It's liberated in that seeing. I had an experience, and I didn't have any of these words back then. Any of these words that we toss around and try to get close to the experience with. As a home health nurse, and I wouldn't have known what this was at the time, but it was monumental, and I knew it had great significance. There was a situation that we were involved in that was horror. It was horror. It was people so caught up in the trance of separateness that they were perpetrating horrific things upon children. And we were involved in the testifying in court, all this stuff. And at one point, during one of the visits, I had to step outside. I just couldn't. I just had to step outside. And as I was leaving the house, one of the adults who had been caught in this, act of total violence and horror, I caught his eye, and there was this contact of awareness to awareness. I would not have known to say that. I didn't, but I felt this recognition that was beyond what was happening. And it struck me. It struck me because it was so out of context of what was happening for Jennifer and, the reality of this horror. I didn't know what it was, but it was just deeply, absolutely impersonal and profound. Profound. And it, I had no place really to understand it or talk about it or put that. I couldn't go back to the staff meeting and say, but there's something there in that individual that is the same here. But that was the truth, even in that situation. So that seeing of what is actual, I'm not talking about denying something that is very painful. I'm not saying that. I hope I'm coming across in a clear way. I'm not talking about shutting down the heart or becoming aloofly transcendent. It's anything but aloofly transcendent here. That's no longer available. I spent a lot of time there back in the day. That's gone. The behavior, I guess I might say, what comes out of the trance of separateness, unworthiness, meanness, what comes out of that is not the actuality. It's a mistake. It's a case of mistaken identity. I mean, totally. The whole thing is basically that. But it's not like it's absent from these places of deep mistakenness. The true nature is not absent. The goodness is not absent. It can't be seen because of all of the belief in this other way, this other idea. It's just an idea. It's just an idea. Can we even believe that all of this is because of an idea? But that's very hopeful and empowering, right? Because we can change our idea. We can look honestly and sincerely, and we can come together like this, like we do, and acknowledge it. Rest as that. Take off the armor of roles and identities, and actually be with one another as that. It can feel risky to certain aspects of the individuation that is still under the pretense of a separate a separate thing. But the eventuality is it's so prominent, and the context, that like the other stations on the radio are just so distant. They're not really tuned in. I mean, you might hear like a negative self-comment or a flash of self-consciousness or some random thing about that isn't helpful at all about a situation or another person, but it doesn't have any traction. It's like Teflon, like the poem I read last night, An Unbroken Mirror. It's just dross compared to this responsive, I call it responsive immediacy because it's ever present, everlasting. Ever-isness is what I always used to say. That's how it downloaded here. The ever is, the ever-isness. I thought I might, since Ani was onto the Gospel of Thomas, love the Gospel of Thomas. And I love the translations from Neil Douglas Klotz. I don't know if any of you have ever read from him, but he speaks Aramaic. So Aramaic was what I think, scholars know what they're talking about as far as that was the language of Jesus and the people who were around him. So when you skip the Greek and go straight from Aramaic to English, it's a really different deal. All of the us and them kind of falls out of it. I have some friends whose first language is Hebrew, and I love talking with them about these things because the Hebrew language, at least my understanding of it from my friends, is so global. It's so total. It's so indicative and reflective of totality. Our language is, the way we speak is very, it's beautiful. There's, English is beautiful. Some of my Spanish friends always tell me, oh, you can say things in English you just cannot find in Spanish. So there's beauty in everything, but, like the word for God is, mother, father, parent of the cosmos is the translation. So it's like, okay, yeah, I can get behind that. That works. I have so many places marked in this book that God knows if I'll be able to come up with it. Hang on. And I try to put the marker a little bit taller than the other one, and then Okay, so this is from the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus said, "Human beings see only images, but the real light within them, the light of their eternal soul, hides in the image of the parent of the cosmos. That one wants to be unveiled, but the image revealed to you and your impression of that image are only veils over the original light. You are happy when you see your outer image in a mirror. If you were to see your divine image, the first light likeness of original humanity, existing at the very beginning, a reflection that neither fades nor ever fully shows itself in form, how could you live with it?" From the Gospel of Thomas. You are now experiencing in yourselves my beloved, the child of the cosmos, the one who brings into the world love to give, love to receive, through this radiant reflection, through this, as this, the image of your original self. I express the joy of the universe, the passion and desire that holds everything together. Boy, that's the truth. Don't hold on. Why not just listen? Open your ears to the universal sound. I think there's so much to that. How could we live with it? The truth of who we are. When we've been so habituated and conditioned to negate, judge, question, would've, should've, could've, can't. To the me, I think it just feels overwhelming, like an overwhelming sense of responsibility, like I'm holding up enough, this is all I can do. You can't heap that on here. Now I'm supposed to have a divine expression and do good things and save human beings, and the whole thing. And it's just not like that at all. I mean, it might look that way. You might be one of those people. But you might be growing flowers. Or like they say, pumping gas, Buddha at the gas pump. But there's no division. We keep insisting on wholeness from the point of division, the point of view of division. We've tried everything. We've tried everything. So just one more little bit of scripture, and then I think we'll take a break so I can feel the fade. I love the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. There's not much of it, because so much of it was lost. But what there is of it is transformative. And there's a lot of debate, theological debate. I don't know anything about that. But it does seem to here represent the feminine aspect of the teaching that we consider to be the teaching of Christ. The mirror of that through the feminine. I'm not talking about gender, but just the feminine aspect. Tell us about matter. Like matter. Will it survive or not? And the Savior answered, all of nature with its forms and creatures exists together and are interwoven with each other, and they will be resolved back, however, to their own proper origin, for the compositions of matter return to the original roots of their nature. Those who have ears, let them hear this. Which reminds me of the Padmasambhava teachings. It echoes that, right? Then Peter said to him, since you have explained everything to us, tell us one more thing. What is the sin of this world? And the Savior replied, sin, as such, does not exist. You only bring it into manifestation when you act in ways that are contrary in nature. It is for this very reason that the good has come among you, pursuing its own essence within true nature, in order to reunite everything to its origin. And he continued, this is also the reason for sickness and death, because you embrace what deceives you. Do we hear that? We embrace what deceives us. Consider these matters then with your spiritual discernment. Attachment to matter gives birth to passion without an image of itself, because it is drawn from that which is contrary to its nature. The result is confusion and disturbance, and it resonates throughout one's whole being. It is for this reason that I told you to find contentment at the level of the heart. And if you are discouraged, which so many of us are naturally right now, take heart in the presence of the image of your true nature. Those with ears, let them hear this. I see beauty. May we shine as that which we truly are.